Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars.
SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Social media has become so ubiquitous that it makes sense that you build a business presence there as well. But when it comes to your business, what does being on social media actually mean? And how do you choose where to spend your time? For answers, we turn to Helen Baker, one of the country's leading financial experts, keynote speaker and author of On Your Own 2 Feet. Helen warns that social media can be a money pit. You could be spending too much time and too much money on it if you're not careful. But can businesses get away without including a social media marketing channel? Helen explains to Chris Ashmore.
I think it's pretty difficult these days not to have a presence. I find it interesting from my world as a financial advisor that you can actually look on companies' sites and there's actually no proper picture of them as an advisor. And I think, gosh, if you're going to look after people's money, you'd like to think that people can relate to you and identify with you and that you can put things out there for you. So I also think, given the world of scamming in which we live, that people are looking for validation that who you are, and also is there an alignment of your values before proceeding. So I think social media helps to articulate that. It helps to put up things that you're actually doing and help people relate to you as well.
There are so many social media platforms for businesses to choose from. Where do they even start?
Yeah, I think, again, it goes back to who you're targeting and why. So I sort of think, what's an appropriate approach for what I'm trying to achieve? So what's my purpose? Is my purpose for being connected on social media to try and get new clients? And if that is, then where will my clients be? Or is it more about, actually, I just want to establish with other business professionals that I exist and this is what I do. And then, they might think of you as someone to refer to or someone to sort of partner in with. It can be just to establish your credibility and show your heart, show that you care about certain things and that communicating that you're on top of your game. So there's an opportunity there to communicate and have control of what you're communicating to others and help them understand why you might be different. And then you have to think about, okay, well, what are my expectations around that? Is it charitable? So, for example, for mine, I have a lot of articles that get published. So then that's an opportunity to just put that up and share that information with anyone who may not get financial advice, may not afford it. It might just be a really ground level tweak for them to listen to. So we'll put up the articles on things like a Facebook and LinkedIn and those. We don't use TikTok. I'm not doing any dance moves or anything crazy, but, Insta, for example, has grown a lot. The picture side of things, I think, communicating from there. So I think it's understanding, who am I targeting? What am I trying to communicate? Who would best receive that in which platform? And there'll probably be more platforms coming. And then thinking about, what is my purpose behind doing it? Do I have expectations around this? And that comes into other factors like, how do you measure it and so on.
There's always a next step for your business. There's always help at every stage. As you grow your business, we're here to support you every step of the way. Move forward with Mazars. Visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.
Well, that leads me then to, how do you measure it? I mean, if a business is looking to engage with a particular social media channel, how do you know if it's working or not?
I think it's quite hard. I know the simple website, there's tools that you can track which way people are looking at it, if they're reading your newsletters, what sort of hits you're getting. But interesting, when I talk to people, they'll say, oh, I read your article on this, or I saw this on social media and that was really good. But they didn't like it or didn't do that. And I think maybe at the moment this has a lot to do with privacy and protection. Like, people don't necessarily want other people to know what they're looking at as well. So there might be people watching and reading what you're doing, and it might be having impact, but you might never know. Conversely, the other side, when we have new clients who come in, we usually ask them where they came from. And again, social media might not be the hook that they saw that brought them in, but it might be just another part of where they're looking to decide who they want to work with and find out a little bit more. So I know, for one example, there's a client who came in and she had been given one of my books and read that. But that person who gave her the book is actually not a client, and I don't know how that person found out about the book. So it could be any way that these kind of messages are getting out there, and they could be the initial hook. They might be the third hook that made people do that. There might be no hook at all. It might just be that you're actually giving something back and people are benefiting from that.
It could be perhaps having a multi-pronged approach to social media marketing, being on different channels and just getting the word out on a regular and consistent basis. It all adds up.
Yeah, I think having a presence, and from my understanding from what they say, is be regular with it, which is often quite hard to do unless someone else is doing it for you, because personally you can get really busy and it's a big distraction, and so you sort of don't want to be doing it, or you just don't have the time. You're putting your efforts in where it makes sense to put your efforts. So being regular, being focused on what you're doing, communicating very clearly what it is that you're trying to communicate, and then in an area that somebody who's likely to respond to that is reading it.
Are there any hidden costs associated with social media?
I think it probably could be a money pit. I sometimes think about if you said to somebody, okay, well, what would you put together for my social media? And we have gone down this track before, and it's quite a big number. And then you sort of think about, okay, well, again, if it's for clients or rather than giving, it's actually you're looking for a return on that investment. I think the numbers obviously need to stack up, but you could go the other way and just say, you know what, this is how much I want to commit to. What can I get for that kind of money? So a little bit like how we might manage insurance premiums. It could be, let's insure for everything, and this is how much it is. Or we can go the other way and say, actually, this is all I can commit to. What's the best way for me to invest that money to get the best bang for my buck? So I think you need to be aware of tracking and, again, trying to identify if there's a return on that investment. And you can waste a lot of time being on there, as we all know as users. You can spend a lot of time in there. You can also spend a lot of time creating content that can go on there and managing trolls and people that come in and start sort of hacking into your social media, which can be quite distracting and certainly needs managing as well.
You kind of touched upon it, but is it a good idea to outsource social media activities?
I probably come from the position that if there's any role within a business that can be done at a lesser rate than what you are, to allow you to focus on what you do best, and also commercially it makes more sense because they're not doing it for the same cost as what you're charging out for your work, then I think it makes sense. I also think, again, it just moves away from the distraction of putting all your efforts over here, then over here, then over there, and it's you just want to be focused, I think. And also because someone who is an expert in this sort of field gets their own ideas, gets a plan together about how they're going to communicate, how they're best going to do the social media, and that way you've got somebody who's an expert in their field managing it.
That was financial advisor Helen Baker. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow @BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.